And there we go. We've got audio, we've got video, we are ready. Let me rearrange this just a bit. We're about to begin. Come here, Tanjiro. There we go. Move the wheat over here. They look great, and we're about to begin. I need a pencil, my pencil. And now we're ready to begin. Very well. Shabbat Shalom, my most esteemed and beloved friends of LDE, honorable judges, as well as everyone accompanying us. On this rather precious, cloudy, a bit lukewarm of Shabbat, the US of A, Shabbat which is the 11th of Aviv, of the first month, the most important one, of the year 5993. This corresponds to the 20th of April 2024. We shall study yet another chapter of Wisdom and Discipline 13, or Chokhmah and Musar 13, and I've added an extra title so you can identify it someday that you repeat it. A subject which is called Pesakh. Pesakh 2024. Why? Because within 3 days we shall celebrate Pesakh. And it's so beautiful to celebrate things which are special, that have been celebrated for many years. It's beautiful to celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, just as it's beautiful to remember certain things. We, as human beings, we like to have some sort of routine and also a type of, even though sometimes this can be misconstrued, but some sort of I don't want to call it a religion. How is it that you should say a type of tradition? A type of tradition, because it makes us feel that we belong to something, and that feast is actually a spectacular feast. And I'm not even sure if it's not the best group of feasts. I couldn't say with certainty that is the best. But we're in the most important month, and where the most important events ever happened. So I could say that it's the most important group of Pesach of them all, the group of feasts, the most important one. Where is Pesach and all the feasts that are the spring feast? Because it's not winter anymore. Now it's spring, and we are happy to celebrate yet another year once again this so millennial and important feast. Very well, let us seek our Elohim. Beloved Yahweh, we give you thanks for this so precious day of Shabbat. We give you thanks because we are in the year 2024 of creation, and it's the year 5993. I ask you that in this month, in the one that you said that it was the most important one, the main one for your people also. We're right before the most important and most meaningful feast, and we want to be blessed by you. We want your blessing to be felt in every one of the members of the Eternal Truth and in every one of the persons that accompany us every Shabbat. All those who believe in your name, all those who have started with the fear of Yahweh to obtain wisdom. I ask you that it may be some very special, and that you be presented in every home, in every lineage, and wherein Pesach is celebrated. We thank you for all this in your precious name, Yahweh Sebaot. Alleluia. Yahweh has blessed with whom you have live the following members of the Eternal Truth: Victoria Tsoy, Guatemala; Edwin Arturo, Guatemala; Jose Antonio Solano, the Dominican Republic; Paulo Sergio Silveira, Brazil; Felix Aníbal Taza Tochilo, Peru; Isaac Matsuyama dos Santos, Japan; Josué Obando Castillo, Ecuador; and Rebecca Sousa, Bolivia. For each and every one of you, a great big hug, many congratulations, and I hope that you have had a beautiful birthday, and maybe the last one, the very last, in being directed by Babylon. That is our wish. We still have 7 years left, almost 8. We don't know the exact times of Yahweh, but that is our desire. is the very last one in which the system changes very well. Within 3 days, today is Shabbat, Sunday, Monday, on Tuesday, and 3 days from now, we shall celebrate Pesach. I'll speak because there are people that accompany us, not for the first time, but they accompany us ever since we celebrated the last time of Pesach and after that date. And some don't really remember what Pesach is, how it's celebrated, and all the rest. And so I'm going to dedicate some time to speak a little bit about Pesach. If you have specific questions about Pesach, specific ones about Pesach, write me on my Facebook timeline, actually on a DM. And at the end of time, I'll check my Facebook, and if there is a question about Pesach, I'll answer it if somebody has a doubt and they don't know how to do this, or if it's okay to do the other, or when exactly is it exactly, if it's not clear to you, or whatever. Whatever question that you may have, as in regards to Pesach, you can ask me right now during today's subject, and at the end of the subject, I'll read the questions very well. First than anything, let us begin with from everything classical, Shemah Israel, YHWH Eloheinu, YHWH Ekhad. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh your Elohim, Yahweh one is. It is only one being, only one creator, only one savior, only one planner who planned, well, hold on. The only one that planified everything, the only creator, the only one that exists. He came to earth as a man 2,000 years ago, and he took on the role, per se, of something that I didn't like to say before, took on the role, and I don't understand why, of the son of Elohim. And he made himself be called, I am the son of Elohim, because under no aspect did he say, I am Elohim. Because then he would not, there wouldn't be one sole Elohim right there. What do you mean Elohim is being a man now? Nobody would have understood it. Human minds were not prepared. Just like a child, that if you would try to make them understand things that are impossible to understand, like something in electronics or electricity or math, it's impossible for a child. So then during that time, it was impossible for the human race to understand and precisely the work that he was going to do. It was going to be impossible if the people would have known to a certain science, per se. What is a certain science? Because all science is not certain, but a certain science that they were knew he was Yahweh, they would have tried to get a lot more of an advantage if we had a human that at a certain science, by certainty, we knew that he was Yahweh. We would never leave him alone. So say, hey, Yahweh, you hold on to that guy, you grab on, and you try to have him bless you, and that you're with him the whole time. Because he's Yahweh. He's not a son of, he's not a God sent, he's not a preacher, he's not an anointed. No, he's Yahweh. Just imagine, what would you do if you knew that a human being was Yahweh? You would do anything, you would forget about everything else that exists except for the Creator, of course. So then, he could not have done the task by saying, I am Yahweh. Like, how are you going to be Yahweh? It's the way it is, that even up until today, the people do not accept that it was Yahweh that came. Now, all the parables say, this God sent of Yahweh, the Son of Yahweh came. It was a co-eternal, a companion with the same characteristics and equality of Yahweh, but it was not the Father. So then with that, they satisfy in one way or another that insanity, per se, of believing that the very Creator, the only one there is, and not another, came to earth. And that now we precisely understand it. one sole Creator, one sole Savior that came to earth, made himself be called the Son of Yahweh. Also, it was accepted, even though he didn't want to be called that way, or the Messiah. He took the role of the Messiah because he called him Jesus Christ. It is Jesus the Messiah, YHWH HaMashiach. Salvation made a Messiah, so then he took on that role. The thing is that if the very basic principle of the Shema is not understood, Shema Israel Yahweh Eloheinu Yahweh Ekhad, we shall wait for that very same being that made himself be called the Son of Yahweh. We'll wait for him once again, and he'll never come again as a second time, because he no longer exists. That being does, and that is the point. That he no longer exists, that being does. That being existed under those conditions and for a certain mission. But once he said, I go unto the Father, he was saying literally, now I go and I become the Father, what I always was. And you shall no longer see me, he said. Literally, you shall never again see me. But the people don't understand that you shall never see me. They understand that he says, I'll come back again. But he's talking within the role of the Messiah. It's complicated. You understand this. It's a pleasure to understand it and to speak about it every Shabbat, because this is a message that will be understood and will have to be understood by the whole world. For now, we understand it, or soon the entire world will understand it entirely, and they'll have to accept the true Mashiach. All that messianic figure, which started from Adam and Eve. That's the way it started, from Adam and Eve. That messianic figure, a Messiah that was being reflected in prophets, in the Kohanim, in the priest. You could see it reflected in the Kohen Gadol and the high priest and the kings. It was reflected in the major prophets, and it was reflected gloriously in Yahweh. None of those was a Messiah. They were all just a figure. The Messiah is the worldwide, final, and eternal government. That is the Messiah, the Messianic era, where there will be Elohim, one alone, Yahweh, the only one that cannot be repeated, and the Messiah, which is a group of people. It's kind of as if to say, instead of Babylon, the counter. The Babylon, which we know it's not a person, we know that clearly that it's not a person. John saw her as a person, the prostitute. He said, I saw a prostitute. So it's not that it's only one person, Babylon. No, that person represents a system, and the Messiah represents a system. That is not understood by anyone. They're waiting for one sole person that they think that it's the one that came 2,000 years ago, and that does no longer exist. The Messiah is one new government. That is why it's the Messianic era. It is a new government that is made up by many people, as Babylon is, that is made up by many people. And that exactly is the counter. You've got the prostitute, Babylon, and then you've got the bride of Yahweh, the Messiah. They're all symbols, both the prostitute, just as the bride. When you see all those figures, it's so magnificent, this message. It's so precious that, of course, we like and we celebrate the feast, remember them, and celebrate them in the way in which we celebrate. And it gives us a lot of pleasure that soon the prophecy which every man has waited for in this earth, which is the Messiah, the Messianic era. And that is, we're at the doors of that. Very well. Let us begin by speaking a little bit about, well, I want to read this because I love it. Proverbs 25:2. It is the glory of Elohim to conceal the word. That is why everything that I've said is concealed from the people. Yet honor of the king is to search out. And it is honor and glory, the same word, of the king. And who's the king? Once again, only one person? No, the king is the Messiah. It has to be read this way. The glory of Elohim is to conceal the word, and glory of the Messiah is to understand the word. The whole rest of the world will not understand it until the Messiah explains it. It's as simple as this. It's as simple as this. This text is Jeremiah 16:19 through 21. Yahweh, my strength and my stronghold, my refuge in the day of tribulation. And to thee shall come the peoples from the ends of the earth, and shall say, only lies was the inheritance of our fathers, vanity to which there is no avail. If it is man that makes himself gods, then they are not gods. The Trinity of the Father and the Son, all that, the Holy Spirit. That is why, behold, I shall make it be known this time in the future. I shall make it be known the strength of mine arm, and you shall know that my name is Yahweh, and you shall know that there's only one Elohim, YHWH Ekhad. The whole world knows it. They shall all know it, and they will understand it. And also will understand that there's only one government, and it's an eternal government. The government is called the government of the sons of Elohim, the government of the Messiah, government of the bride. It is two titles, but it is the final government of the Messiah. Invitational text, we continue on with the same one because we are studying Proverbs, which is not the most important part, but the most important part is this: wisdom and discipline, Chokhmah and Musar. But I left the text there because I have not explained it entirely, and I'm not sure if I'll explain it today, but we'll move on with the text. Proverbs 123, Spanish DHH, it says, pay attention to my corrections, and I will fill you with my spirit. I shall make it be known unto you, my thoughts. Spectacular. That's why I love that text so much. It's fascinating. That's why we repeat it many times, because there's so much wisdom in that text in itself. Very well. Here we've got some presents that I'd like to present. That's what we've got, these boxes here. This just arrived today. Precisely, they let me know. This is sent to me by Josue Hernandez Garcia from Mexico. He let me know that the tracking was ready, and we made some time this morning to go and look for it, and Brian went to go get it from the post office. So I haven't opened it. I just wanted to present it like this. Only these two figures. That's it for Christian and Leslie. This box set for Christian and Leslie. This box set. Oh, spectacular. These details. Blue and gold. Speaking about blue and gold, tomorrow there's a game. And I hope we win, because if we don't, wow, we're going to have to hear the Chickens, Boca and River tomorrow, 11:30 in California, 5:30 Argentinian time. What do you mean 5:30? 3:30, yeah, of course. 11:30, 1:30, 3:30 in Argentina, 11:30 in California. They play for the playoffs. It was in our group. The fourth, the River, was the first. So then they face off on the first, in other words, the best, supposedly, which wasn't the best of that group, with the worst, per se. We're the worst in the other group, and so they face off. And oh well, they're going to make sparks. It's been years that they don't play with a double fan base in Argentina, but that's why they don't play in the stadiums of the home places, and they look for a neutral ground so they can have double fans. It's going to be so intense because it's going to have both fans, the River and the Boca fans, which love each other a lot and they respect each other, supposedly. On paper, but there's going to be both of them. It'll be in Cordoba. It's a very beautiful stadium, Cordoba, and so it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a kill. Now there's a new Argentinian term that I didn't know back in my time. It's a kill. We'll tell it to them. We stole it from the Brazucas. I mean the Brazilians. By elimination, like always. I've heard it be named the direct elimination game. Out of the two, one will pass. There's no extra time. If there is a tie, then it go to penalty shots directly. So then the Argentinians took on a Brazilian term, which is a mata-mata. It means it's an elimination game. One stays and one moves on. That's what these games are going to be about. So then tomorrow, Boca and River will be a mata-mata. These are so great, these boxes, they're precious. Leslie, can you get me that? Yes, it's spectacular. And now we've had these two characters, the Matrix. Wow. The Matrix little toys are spectacular. Right there, spectacular. Yeah, they're so good. Wow, they're so good. And it came with, I believe, these little weapons, toy weapons. Let's see if they can hold them up on their hand. They would seem to be two machine guns, 9mm ones. Let's see. How good are they here in the hand? Let's see this one. I'll see if they can stand up. I don't know if they stand up. But the guy says he feels insecure if he doesn't come with this one here. Let's see if he can stand here. Don't shoot anyone, Neo. There it is. He is standing up. And this one I can't remember if it was lefty or righty, but Trinity will make you a righty. I can't remember if you were left-handed in the character. There it is. Hold on to it, Trinity. Apparently she doesn't want to grab onto it. I think she is left-handed. Let's see. Doesn't want to grab onto it right there. Don't stick your finger in. How many times will I tell you to not stick your finger on the trigger until you have not confirmed your target? And you are decided that there's somebody behind the target, you do not put the finger. Trinity, what's going on with you? Let me tell you. There it is. Oh, yeah. If you find him there, it's kind of twisted, right? There. You have to be very delicate. You just find out. There you go. Just stay there. Grab it onto the cup. Yeah, they're great. They're excellent. Very good, very good. Very good. Let's put it there with the, right there. Let's see if she can stay there with the wheat right there. Don't shoot anything. Okay, can you see both of them? I mean, I can't see it here just yet, but it's probably because of the delay. Yeah, you can see it a little bit less. Let's see right here. Right there. There we go. Trinity wants to push. Trinity wants to push. Neo. There it is. Stay there. Very well. We have both of them great there. What else got here? This is. I'm looking for a thing. This must be. Oh, yes. Josue must be in love. This guy is such an idiot. I sent him the stand and everything. Right, what an idiot this guy. Okay. Oh, now I have to know how you use it. Oh, because you've got from the waist. Oh, right. There's a stick here. I think there's a stick that it is held on right here. Right, it is held on right here, right there. So then this is like this, something like that. No, right there on the waist, something like that on the waist. Yes, correct. Correct. I'll put it up later, and I'll fix it later. Okay, there it is. And now, I do not promise anything. Careful there. There it is. There it is. Very well. So then it's got all these parts that, if I grab onto the waist like this, and then a stick holds them in the back, like always. What'd I say? That's funny. The stick holds you up. Holds up the plant. Oh, my grandparents used the stick. Very well. What else do we have here? It says for Christian. Oh, for Christian. Let's see what we have. I think it is. Wow. T-shirt. Or Remera, like we call it here. How beautiful, with a beautiful line. It says LVE. How beautiful. My color, that is the most preferred one. Black, spectacular. Many thanks, Josue. And a little medal. The flat earth. Look. Josue thinks that the earth is flat. Oh, good thing. How beautiful. Many things. Spectacular. Precious. Precious. Precious t-shirt. Now this is for Leslie. This one's for Leslie. Leslie. Oh, how beautiful are the colors. Black, spectacular, black. Oh, it's precious. Loved it. I think it's got perfume. They put perfume on it. I like that blue right there. Metalized. Metal blue. Spectacular. Is it me or does this smell exquisite? Oh, it smells like perfume. Oh, look at the details. And another one for you. A little medal for you. Of a flat earth. Oh, yes. It's got perfume on it. What a detail. Wow. Jose, you really overdid yourself. And now for Angelina. I'll give it to her. Is one just like hers. Yeah, right there. It's a CK, right? Yeah, Calvin Klein. Look how beautiful is this. This for Angelina. Just like that of Leslie's, and one for Brian, just like mine. Everyone has their medal and everything. So then there's no need to open it. I'll give it directly to you. Many, many thanks, Josue. You overdid yourself, precious. It got here great, like you can see. Gives a little card, which says, Saturday, March 16, beloved friend Selva, receive these presents with lots of love. I send you a great big hug from Monterrey, Nuevo León, Mexico. Many thanks for the pearls of wisdom that you share with us every Shabbat, and thanks for translating the true interpretation. I enjoy learning from you. It's all perfectly well written. May Yeshua bless you. Aguante Christian and Leslie, Angelina and Brian and Boca. No, he didn't put anything about Boca. Aguante Boca. Spectacular. Many thanks, Josue. You overdid yourself. And now we have another spectacular one that got here this week from Said. Oh. This one is a Cajun Parmesan. Cajun Parmesan. How do you say that? Some of you know. You're fans from Brazil. Do you speak Brazilian? No? Portuguese? Queijo or queijo or queijo. I don't know. Who knows how the fuck to pronounce this? Queijo. Queijo sounds like what a son of a. It sounds like what a son of a. Queijo, or queijo. Who knows what the fuck? What a son. Parmesan. Queijo Parmesan. It's Argentinian industry. Lots of love for the Brazilians. Here it says clearly Argentinian product. Only for to be exported to Brazil. Look, this is a gift that's wow, so original, spectacular, Said. You really overdid yourself. Spectacular is your gift. Fantastic. Fantastic. Loved it. Loved it. Oh, he got kind of no jealousy here in you. Okay, let's get rid of this until we can stand it up for next Shabbat. We can see it, both of them there. Let's take those two. The cheese also. So that many thanks, Josue and Said, for the gift. They were rather spectacular. How do you pronounce it? Queijo. Queijo Parmesan. The best industry, Argentina. Wow. It's impressive. Rather astonishing. Today we'll taste it. Today we'll open it and we'll taste it with the soup that we're going to take today. What do you have today? It was like a chicken stew, right? Very well. We'll begin with the questions. I have many questions to answer, which I love these questions. I love them, okay? I love the questions. It's it completes a very original part of wisdom and discipline very well. Let us see if we have likes here. I want to know if we have any likes. We've got 224 watching and 198 likes. Do not forget to give us and gift us a like. Also to comment when the video ends, aside from the comments that are live already. So then those that are watching, you forgot to give us a like, it is time to do so. And gift us a like. Let's see. What do we have here? Okay. So then, how many likes have we got now? Now we've got 216 likes. We're so few. But it doesn't matter. Apparently the rock is very small, very small. Very well. Question number 1. It says, first of all, greetings to you, Christians, the great teachers of ours. I have some questions and other things that there's no need for me to read about food. These questions are difficult, mind you. Those that have ears to hear my answer, they will understand. But I'm going to say it in the most honest as possible, To eat pig, chancho they call it, but it means pork. How do you call it in English? Pork, pig. To eat pork, is that a restriction from Elohim? Yet, what would happen if we were to eat pork when we are not conscious of it? I'll give an example. Okay. Before the examples, I'll be answering this part of the question. If we're not conscious of what we're eating, then we're not to blame because we don't know. If somebody were to bring me from here little cookies and I trust in the people and they add some pork fat, lard, and I eat it and I didn't even notice, I'm not even going to notice. And it'll be unconscious of it. I would not know that. So then you're not absolutely responsible in this case. So then it says in Ecuador, we eat a lot of beans with rice. They call it menestra. Not just in Ecuador, but in Cuba, in Puerto Rico, in Mexico, in Guatemala, in all the countries, in Brazil also, I think. Except for Argentina, we never eat that. Not rice or beans. Very rare. When there's rice is kind of weird to eat it. It's weird to eat it. And beans, never, ever, never, ever. Beans do not exist in Argentina. Exist a kind of type of a white bean that would call payar, and another one from lard, another one from soja or soy. But just as the bean that, you know, little black one, or the pinto beans, and little red beans, we don't eat it in Argentina. Very, very little, very little. You miss out on it, okay, because it's very delicious. Okay, beans and rice is very delicious, but those are the types of customs that the countries adopted. So then it says in Ecuador, we eat a lot of beans and rice, menestra. Some people, to cook the beans and give it flavor, they add some pork rinds. We call it chicharron here. Chicharron, right? In Argentina, they also call that chicharron. I'm not sure if it's just the skin or some other parts, but let's say the skin. It's kind of thick and very fatty. That is why it's fried and it's kind of crunchy like that. My dad would tell me that when he was little, before, or some uncles of his that were not Adventists, they would make bread with chicharron. They would add that, and it was very delicious. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. So then they add pork rinds. So then you can go to a restaurant and eat pork without knowing it. Would that be bad? Well, let me take the term bad. It wouldn't be intelligent if you already know they had that. Right? Of course, if you already know they had that. If you don't know they had that, then you're ignorant, and we have to accept the term. You're ignorant of that. Then ignorance justifies. Remember that phrase? Ignorance justifies and knowledge condemns. Is that what we said? We used to say something like that. Ignorance justifies and knowledge condemns. Exactly. And I'll use it even now. Ignorance justifies and the knowledge condemns. Once we know that, they just have to tell me once, so that if I'm in Ecuador and they said, hey, do you want a menestra? Well, the first thing I'm going to ask is, do you add a little bit of lard? You add a little bit of that, and they say yes, then no. Said, no, we don't use that. We're Adventist here, or Jewish. Then, okay, I'll say, serve me some, but if not, then no. So then the question is, would it be wrong? First of all, you say that that is not knowing. If it's not knowing, is not wrong. But consciously, then you're not trying to use the term bad. We have to understand that Torah is annulled. This is what's difficult. This is what's difficult. The Torah is annulled. And it's not that it's annulled so as to not do sacrifices. The Torah asked for sacrifices for removing the sin from your life. They were not optional sacrifices. There were sacrifices that are obligatory. And if you didn't do it, then they would cut you off from the people, or you had a death sentence on your head. About the Shabbat, if you would break the Shabbat, it was under penalty of death. A whole bunch of things, menstruation, slavery, all those things, they were actually very rigorous. To not take Pesakh would be equivalent to being cast from the people forever. So then I could not say that all that is annulled, but the rest is valid. No, I can't say that if you annul the constitution of a nation, because that is the constitution of the people of Israel, where there were rights, where there were laws, there were doctrines, where there was how you would form the constitution of the people of Israel. The only form that Yahweh had was to come to this earth and give it a fulfillment, like it says, like a true fulfillment, give it a finalization, but to everything. I want you to understand my words, everything. Not that I'm going to select the sacrifices are no longer good. I'll annul that, but the Sabbath is still going on. All the things of the rituals of circumcision, menstruation, purification, and all the rest, I'll annul it. But the tithes stay, and I'm using something difficult, okay? No, it isn't so. He annulled everything. All that constitution, which is the Torah, was absolutely annulled. Or it's either all annulled or it's all valid. Because you, as a human being that's intelligent, you have to make a choice. And if there's an Adventist listening to me that is always getting into it here, if there's a Messianic listening, don't think for just a minute that the Sabbath is valid, and that the clean foods are valid, and that the rites and that the sacrifices are no longer valid. That is invalid. Your way of thinking. God did not come to say, this is annulled, this stays. These 10 Commandments, I'll cut them up. I'll just cut the 10 Commandments and put them away. It'll be the last test, but the rest, I'll leave it. No, that is absolutely insanity. Either is all still on standing, even slavery, or it's all invalid. And if it's all invalidated, then it is absolutely, everything is invalidated to the very last jot and tittle, like Yeshua said. He said, my words shall not pass, the earth can pass and the heavens, but my words will not pass. And then he said, not one jot or tittle shall be taken away from the law until it is all fulfilled. Until it's all fulfilled, he said. Let's read it. Let's go ahead and read it. Because what I'm teaching, the Messianic... Okay, mine's somewhere over there. Let's see what this Israelite Messianic Bible says. I have so many Bibles. Okay. Messianic Israeli Bible. Oh, wow. I opened it right in a chapter. Well, I wasn't going to read this. Let's go to a different one. Yes. Because I'm already tempted to read other things that are very good. Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Let's go to Matthew chapter 5. Matthew chapter 5. Let's see how these guys added it. Matthew chapter 5. Until I find it in this Bible. It says as follows. And until I find it. 16 and 17. 17. Do not think that I came to annul the Torah or the prophets. I have not come to annul, but to fulfill. Of course, he didn't come to annul, but to fulfill. That is very clear. Very tricky. It's very tricky. It is very deceitful, this statement. Is he didn't come to annul. What does it mean to come and annul? It says, I came and annulled everything. He didn't come to do that. Because they would have stoned him right there. He didn't come to annul, but to die, to annul, which is different. So then to fulfill is fulfilling with my life. Here I'll annul everything. The only way, like Paul says, of annulling the testament, or no, not the testament, of annulling if a woman is married with a guy, she's the woman of that guy, and if she separates from that guy, she cannot remarry. But if the guy dies, she is free of all the assets of the guy and will get married again because the law of the guy died with the guy. You understand what I'm saying? In the Jews, what I want you to understand, in the Jewish machismo, a woman is a property of the man. There's no equality. She's a property. That is why the man could have many women, many properties. Could have a cow and a wife, 2 cows and 2 wives, 4 cows and 4 wives. I'm not saying that they're cows, no. I'm not saying that your wives are cows either. I'm just comparing sheep, cows, so then there could be all the ones that he wants. And then Israel was formed with 4 brides, 4 wives. 4 wives was Jacob formed. 4. So then, always, the bride under the Torah is property. It's not a human being that's equal. I want you to understand it, because that's the Torah. So then, it's not what I think. It's not in our age when it was given. That is why all the commandments, the 10 commandments, are the commandments, if you don't understand, say, thou shalt not covet the woman. First, it says, thou shalt not covet the house. And then it says the woman. So then the house has more value than the woman. Look and see how it says here in this Bible. I'll check it right now. I'll go to this Bible. I mean, this is very important to understand what I'm explaining. Because then later, you only understand half, then you forget, you don't review. Exodus chapter 20. The sole beloved law by the Adventists and all the rest reads as follows. It says, number 17, thou shalt not covet the house of your neighbor. That is what has the most value. It's an element. It's a property. Thou shalt not covet the house of thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet the woman of thy neighbor. According, the woman is second in importance. The house is more valuable. So it says, do not covet the house of your neighbor or his servant. See how it goes down in value. I'm not me doing it. It is the Torah. It is what the Torah teaches. The house is more valuable than the woman, and the woman is more valuable than a servant, and a servant is more valuable than an animal. That's the way it is. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, or neighbor's wife, or manservant, or maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. There is the values house higher than woman. Woman is not a human, she's a property of the man. Having understood this, we see that the whole law had to be annulled entirely. Now, we've got in the intelligence, I wanted to say some more about the one, but I forgot. I'll have to explain that. I was reading, I forgot. Well, I forgot. Oh, I was reading Matthew. The law, either it all dies or no one dies. I want you to understand that. That right there. Now we're going to see what has to stay. It just do not think that I came to annul the law or the prophets. I have not come to annul, but to fulfill. I didn't come to annul. He says it's all annulled. No. He comes to fulfill. How is it fulfilled? What he was saying is that a woman was a property of her man. That is what I was saying, that a woman was a property of the man, and when the man would die, the woman owned everything that the man had, and also owned herself. She could recover her freedom to marry anyone. In other words, to once be a slave of some other guy, another male. But she would gain her freedom, the woman would. She would regain it. That example of Paul's is magnificent, because the women are we, and we were married with a tyrant, that we could not escape from such a tyrant that if we were to touch an apple or his plate or a fruit, he would kick us from the house, and he would treat us even worse, like animals. With that tyrant is whom we were married to. So then that tyrant could not come and say, nah, everything's annulled, because he married Israel. He married Israel. And why does it say that he married Israel? He married Israel or the reason is of being able to free her later. And then he divorced her. And Israel was left more than fucked. Couldn't marry anyone. Had no other men to love her, nor any other man existed to love her. So then Israel was left abandoned. The husband came and he died. When the husband died, Israel was left free. And by being left free, she became the prostitute of the prostitute. That is clear. That is clear. Became the prostitute. But she was left imprisoned of the laws of her previous husband. Imprisoned. She cannot come from there. She cannot come out from there. I can read you the text where it says that for her, for Israel, be commandment upon commandments, line upon line, and it'll be so heavy until they fall backwards and they die, and they perish. Every part of the Torah for them is a commandment upon commandment, line upon line. So then in the end of it all, they're freed, but not really freed. They're still imprisoned. But the reality is that he, as the husband of Israel, of humanity, he freed humanity. Well, he freed Israel. Keep in mind that the laws were for Israel, not for Egypt, they were for Israel. So he freed Israel from everything. That is the secret. That is the secret. That it says, I didn't come to annul the Torah or the prophets. I have come to fulfill. I truly tell you that as long as heaven and earth do not pass, not even one jot or tittle, or a period, or a tittle, shall pass from the law until everything has been fulfilled. And the thing is that everything was fulfilled. Because what had to be fulfilled, which is everything that had to be fulfilled, what had to be fulfilled, what he gave the law, he had to die. And when he died, it was valid up until the day that he died. So then, it says, therefore, whosoever that will break even the least of these commandments and shall teach them to do so unto the people will be considered the smallest in the kingdom of heaven. But unto whosoever that fulfills them and teaches them, the such shall be considered great in the kingdom of heaven. Because I tell you that if your justice does not surpass that of the scribes and Pharisees, then you shall never enter into the kingdom of heaven. All that was absolutely clear. How do I interpret that? I'll tell it to you very simply. It's very simple to interpret. Just nobody is going to heaven here because no one can fulfill, not even the very little ones or the great ones, and your justice. Not even does it get to the justice that you tried to have for the law as the scribes and the Pharisees, so then there's no remedy. And also in the very sermon he said, look, I tell you that the law is written, not thou shalt not fornicate, but I tell you, he says, that whosoever that even looketh at a woman and would adulter with her in his heart, he's already guilty of judgment. With that, he said, look, there is not one that will be saved. Because even if you follow the law, your brain, which I gave you, quote unquote, that I gave you, your level of survival, native survival, which is everything that is sex and all the rest, will not allow you to fulfill the law like the way I gave it to you. Because even if it's with the very minimum thought, well, you fall. And if you fall, you are already guilty of judgment. What is he saying? He's saying, look, there's no one that is able to fulfill the law. They're all condemned. And the law, there's no one that can take it away. Not a tittle or jot will pass from this law before heaven and earth shall pass. But there's only one way for this law to pass. That is what he doesn't say, but it's all there. There's only one way in which the law can be annulled. Only one way. Did you know that Christians don't even know why the fuck Jesus came to die for them? They haven't a clue. I've heard so many versions. They teach them that their father, the father of Jesus, has such a height of justice that it doesn't exist, that he requires the blood of his own son to cover your sins. So then that is the motive for which Jesus, the Son of God, came to earth. They cannot understand why there wasn't another way of redemption. Why had there have to be blood of a supposed God, and why did there have to be blood of a supposed Son of God? What is the reason? Can't things be done more normal? The people cannot understand each other speaking. There have to be blood, real blood. Let's start with that. It's a real or divine blood. I don't know why. If you would press him, because I see your philosophy, you end up saying, well, it's a mystery why God required the blood of his son. Because if you take it to the level, do not get distracted with the cat. There's a cat that wants to enter. Very cute, but we cannot enter here because it would be war. It would seem to be like Iran and Israel here with the two dogs that I have. The philosophy, when you press it, there's a problem. It demonstrates that God that sent that requires the blood of his own son. He is the most evil being that there could ever exist, because he prefers to see his son to die before forgiving. That God cannot forgive. If you were to press the Christian doctrine, God the Father has not the capacity of forgiveness. He only accepts the Son of his Son. They tell you that. They said when he sees the sinner, he gets upset, but his son gets in between and he says, Father, I died for them. So then the Father changes. But he does it because of his Son. His Son covers the sinner. That is something I've heard it 1,000 times over in Christianity. But when you start to say, okay, let's see the logic of the story, you see that it's a being that is deplorable, an accursed being, a being that's absolutely does not the capacity of justice or forgiveness, because he wants only the blood of his son satisfied any other normal being. He would get upset to see the blood of his son. He would say, my son had to die for that garbage. Now I was upset, but now I'm even more upset. You are the guilty for the death of my son. That would be normal, right? Or not? But the Christians, I don't know why, or they don't dare because they are too under the anesthesia or tormented by their own sinful desires, that they live knowing that they are sinners, and since they are forgiven by grace, that is the one, the grace is the grace. They have not earned anything, nor can they ever earn anything. It's grace, and it's for grace. So then if it's all by grace, they don't raise an eye and say, hey, I don't see this as correct. How is the father going to send his son? What, the father can't forgive? In any case, why doesn't the father come? Why does he have to send his son? The guy doesn't have balls, the father does. Why doesn't the father come? No, they cannot think it. They cannot process it. And that's the same thing I say to the Messianic, the ones listening to me. How do you expect to... How do you act like you are worshiping a God, Yahweh, when you know, because the Messianic are Trinitarian and all the rest, that he sent his own son to die to satisfy something of his own? And don't come and tell me, oh no, because God could not. That's a lie. No, he couldn't. What do you mean he couldn't? What do you mean God, he couldn't? So God, he's not all powerful then. Because if God cannot forgive without the blood of his son, then he's not all powerful. There are things that he cannot do. For example, forgive. For example, right, to forgive. He can't do that. So then, which is actually the truth? It is very simple. It is so simple that no one can understand it. That sole being that made that law said the only way that we annul that law, because I have no son to send, and aside from that, it would be stupid. That law that I made, I'll go as a human being under that same law, and I'll die for that law, and that law is left annulled in the moment in which Yeshua died for that. That is why Pesach is so great. I want for this Pesach 3 days from now that you keep in mind that is the day of the human victory. It is our victory. It is the day in which we left slavery. That day we left slavery. The slavery of dying, because a God submitted us to a law that's impossible to fulfill, and there was no escape. Your condemnation was eternal. Eternal condemnation, the day in which all the human race was liberated. That day is the 14th of Aviv. It is Pesach. It is the most important one of them all. Look, tell the truth, of all of them, almost just as important as Christmas, because Christmas is important because that's when he was begotten. Because he was begotten thinking that he would die in Pesach. He was begotten on approximately at the end of December, so that he would be born in the feasts of autumn. And you already know that. There are some Messianic right now going, oh wow, they celebrate Christian, they're Babylon. They celebrate Christmas. No, you're Babylon. In Christmas, or close to Christmas, and we celebrate Christmas, because it was a time in which that only all-powerful being, he said, okay, that's it. I'm going to do something to save all these guys that are all lost. So then he begot himself in our race. It's not when he was born, that's when he was begotten in Mary. It's important. Not when he was born, when he begot himself. It's important when my dad, in one night of passion, and I was begotten. That's when it was important. And then I was born on August 3rd, but I had already been begotten. And for me, what's important really is when I was conceived. And that really makes no importance from a being that is already existent. Not a being, but the God, the all-powerful being and creator. He said, okay, I will insert myself into Mary's or Miriam's womb, and inserted himself there, give or take. it's kind of like the Feast of Hanukkah and Christmas, same thing. The Feast of the Lights, the light came in the purification of the temple, because our temple was absolutely ready for the cemetery forever. So then, the second feast in importance, if we compare it with Christmas, is Pesach. Is in Christmas, it was begotten and was born in Pesach. It's a perfect circle. Christmas, Pesach. You have Christmas, the light, and the life, divine life. But if he had not died, the law would still exist as a human being, even Pesach. And in Pesach, that Lamb of God that taketh away the sin of the world dies. That's where he took away the sin of the world. Took it away entirely. There's no sin in the world. There's no sin in eating pig, pork, or good shrimp. There's no sin. Sin no longer exists. What does exist is the wickedness and justice and the intelligence and stupidity. That does exist. And everyone will have to walk through the path of wisdom and the path of intelligence and the path of justice, not the path of wickedness. So then, sin does not exist, because if there's no law, then there's no sin. The laws will come, the new ones. And I'll tell you who the laws will make, the new laws. It'll be done by the new constitution, owner of the world. Just as you hear, just like a country gets together, like other countries where we were born, every countries that exist in the world, first you've got a union, a signature, and they said, let's make a country, let's just form a country. How do you form it? With a constitution. In the constitution, it says the points that we're going to follow, and the best constitution of the world is the one that the U.S. of North America has, the best redacted. It has its problems, of course, but it's the best one that has ever been made compared with the rest. So then, in the time in which the founders of a country are in agreement, they made the laws. The new laws will be created by the Messiah. The Messiah is the new government. It is the new entity, the new country that will not be a country, because it's an entire country, only one country, the whole world. So then the laws will not be made by God. They'll be made by the entity that will guide the world. Because we will, like any country someday that was conquered and their laws were made, the same thing will happen with the Messiah. He will conquer the world and will say, from here on out, these are the new laws. I won't tell them to you now what the laws are, because I don't know them. Now, when the Messiah is all together and he would have done already the work that he had to do, then they'll make the laws. You understand? In the meantime, all the laws don't exist. They don't exist. So then, the doctrine, the true doctrine that we teach is that only being YHWH came to earth, took on the possession of a human body, and at the end of December, and on 14th of Aviv, the Pesach feast, he died. 3 days and 3 nights later, he resurrected. But already by resurrecting, Israel, his bride, was left free from the mortal guilt in all humanity, from Adam and Eve and all the rest. So then, going back to the question, is it bad to eat pig without knowing? Well, I've already answered about that from the very beginning. And now, what about knowing? Okay, that is where we have to exercise wisdom. I'm not going to condemn you for eating whatever you want to eat. It is your problem. It is your own conscience. My conscience is directed by the intentions, the spiritual intentions of the Torah. I am not guided as a law because of a penalty of law, but for me it's a guide. If Elohim, who had a marvelous plan of making that law and then to annul it later, it's not that it was, like along the way, like they say. No, he had a whole plan. Gives me an idea in my mind that he wanted for his Messiah, because Israel exists only to get the Messiah. I want you to understand that Israel, okay, I'll repeat this again because maybe you didn't grasp it. The people of Israel has their existence only for one sole mission, to get the Messiah. Because the Messiah has to have those roots. He won't be from the Israelite race. It'll be from the nations, like I've explained already, but it has the entire essence and doctrine and religion taught by the scriptures, not by them, by the rabbis, but what's written. You understand what I'm saying? So then the Messiah, and what those that understand that are part, but that I cannot even say you're a part and you're not part. No, I tell you what I feel. Everyone has to feel this. But I want to leave a sign here. There is no sin, because you eat whatever you want. There's no sin. Now, I read the scriptures. That's why I said it was a difficult question. I read the Torah, and I take the essence of my Creator, what He had in mind to form Israel with certain laws, and I'll take the essence of what was the reason. About food, there's no reason whatsoever except that He wanted it to be so. Because the pig is a vital food, just like that, vital. If I were to tell every human being don't eat pig, many people would die. They would die, and they wouldn't eat what they have to eat. Why? Because it's like in China, a whole bunch of Orientals that are based in eating pig. Not just pig, but in everything that's prohibited. Everything that is seafood, everything that is a type of fish that don't have any scales, and any bug, really, they end up in their food. Serpents, all the things that you think about. Their food is based on that. The species are controlled, everyone can live. And I find that to be perfectly well. It's just like that, perfect. Noah, he was told textually, look here, Noah, any walking bug, you can cook it. If you don't believe me, then read it, because it says, I'll give you everything to eat. Everything that moves, you can eat. That's it. Or that he told Noah, is there clean and unclean? No. I know that you're going to read that he grabbed certain pure couples, but there's sacrifices, not even specified what was. You can't say that Noah didn't eat pig. You can't say that, because maybe there's a defender. No, Noah knew what were clean. No, they were clean for sacrifices. Yahweh, I'm sure, says, look, if you want to sacrifice something, the only ones are, I like the goats, the sheep, and the cows. And I don't think he gave him dove. That is what they call clean, not clean to eat. So then he has nothing that says these are clean. No, clean for sacrifice. Very well. Because there are many animals that are not. No, it's not absolutely mentioned at all in the life of Noah. He gave him everything to eat. Noah never kept the Sabbath. You say, no, but the law says, the law comes. No, the Adventists say the angels kept the Sabbath. Wow. To say that is to demonstrate that they're so ignorant. They were so stupid, so lying, and their prophetess was that you can't believe. But what you can't believe is those that followed her, including those of us that did back then, and those that continue to follow her, even more of an idiot than the prophetess. Says the angels in heaven kept the Sabbath, and when the Shabbat would get here, Lucifer and his orchestra would sing a higher note and all that dog shit that Ellen G. White said. When the Creator came and says the Sabbath was made because of men. What? So then, why are the angels going to keep a Sabbath? Because they're not under the sun and the moon that mark the days. The heaven, you already know what I explained. Heaven is everything that surrounds everything outside. We are allowed to get to a certain circle of ice in Antarctica, and then we cannot go past that. Even if they say, no, I've caused, or this guy, I took a picture, I took it, all this dog shit, or I've seen videos of more mountains. I don't believe dog shit. I don't believe any of that shit. I just don't believe him. God gave us certain limits, and He pretty much put us within a fish tank, and it says this is where you can live, and anything outside of the ice ring that is all the south, whatever is from there, it's all heaven. Heaven that way, heaven that way, heaven this way, heaven that way, because we're on the same level. Heaven is not above us, nor is heaven below us, nor is next to us. Heaven is the very plane of the earth. It's all plane. And I could say in my mind and in your mind, it's infinite. It has to have an end. Because I don't think that it's infinite except in time. That I think is infinite, but anything else is finite. In other words, I'll repeat again. The time that does not transfer, it's infinite. It'll be infinite. Will advance and advance and advance. But backwards, it is finite. And in some point in time, this plane has to be cut off. But this must be very small, for the surface is, and actually everything that the Bible calls heaven. Which by removing this, and by removing this barrier, this earth will be made bigger. And it's not that it'll be made bigger, but we'll take on other properties that weren't ours. This is part of heaven. You understand? And all the big things that we may need, anything of the biggest things that we may ever need, because it must be way too big. So then, what was the last thing that I said, just to get to that point? What point was I talking about? You don't even know. You don't know. I explained certain points, and then I forget to. Oh, the Shabbat. Oh, that Abraham never kept a Shabbat, didn't even know it, and that the angels in this heaven. Oh, thank you. In this heaven, minute, this. There's a sun and a moon that is small, very small. A lot smaller than the earth. I mean, don't even mention. You can't even compare it to the size of the earth. There are little lights that go around within this dome. How is it that the angels, if they exist, they must exist? How are the angels that live with Elohim in the outside plane, are they going to keep the Sabbath? And the Sabbath is a time that's only for us. You understand that? They are outside of this clock. This is a clock that goes around. They're outside of this. They must have a different clock. And they say the Sabbath along with us. And Ellen G. White is specific to say that the angels will celebrate along with Adam and Eve the Sabbath all together. That's a lie. An absolute trash, all that. So then, Abraham and Noah, or no one ever kept the Sabbath. It was learned by Israel when he was in Egypt. That is where he learned the Sabbath. He had to explain it, and it says, in 6 days Yahweh made the heavens and the earth. It says, remember, it reminds you of the Shabbat because of in 6 days and all that, blah, 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 everything that you already know. So then, is it a sin to eat pork? It is not a sin. You can eat pork, you can do whatever you want. But I understand, and I explain what I feel. The Messiah is the product, the sublime product, thought of during creation by Yahweh, and it is through Israel that it arrives. So then, I take the foods that are prohibited, and I say there's a reason why he prohibited them. There's a reason why he prohibited them. I don't want to eat them. I don't want to eat them. In fact, I don't want to. In fact, I don't eat foods that I know that may have something that it's nauseous to me. It's nauseous to me. Elohim annul. I don't even know what it means. He's going to annul. We're going to annul eating animals. It make any sense for me to impose my will? I want to eat pig. Maybe for you it makes sense. Maybe for you it does. Not for me. I'll teach you what I feel. I'll teach you both things. It is not a sin. It is not prohibited. But I, since I am a descendant of a religion which I am the product of that, I look back and I take on the spirit of the law and I say, if Yahweh spoke a lot about pork and he said that it was nauseous to him, he says that it was abomination, well, then I won't eat it. What do I miss out on? That is me. That's just me, though. Okay. Very well. Every one of those, do whatever you want. I will not criticize you. So then it moves on. The question is, once I bought in the supermarket a meat chorizo, and when I read the tag, it says that they do use, it is beef, but they use lard. Same thing. To eat lard in a chorizo is the same thing, exactly. Then to eat chorizo that's all made of pork. What is the difference? Tell me, what is the difference? None. Either it has pork or not. And if you're conscious of that, if you're conscious, does it have lard? Oh, yes, it does. I'm going to do this, but with a little bit of lard only. If your mind tells you that that is good, that is okay, do it. And soon, that phrase there, people don't do whatever you must do, and soon, if your mind says that is fine, then eat it. My mind tells me that is not for you. It's not for you. Is the Torah prohibited? No, the Torah does not prohibit it, but it teaches me that my Creator doesn't like that. Okay. I'll take that into account. Moving on. I like to eat kidneys. This one comes with lots of blood. Do we have to take the blood before eating it? Since in the blood is the life. Do you know a technique to take the blood out? Well, the kidney, all the animals, they are bled. When Yahweh says that we have to bleed the animal, he knows that it is bled out. Everything that comes at the beginning, it's not that you leave it there hanging 6 months and then you get the last drop. You just try and see if you can get any, and you put a white cloth like the Jews do to the women, that you have to bring them to see if they don't have a drop of blood. No, it isn't so. It isn't so. To bleed them, you know how they bleed. The Jews do, how they bleed the cows. Have you seen some videos of now? Not those of before. They put the cow in a centrifugal machine. It's a cylinder like this in which the cow enters, and the cow is all terrified, and it comes under the eyesight of a rabbi, a priest. Of course, some guy comes and slits its throat right there live. It doesn't hit it right there in the head. It cuts off, slits its throat, and then they get into that machine that centrifuges and all, and then they have something that picks up the blood. But it is something. It's kind of like they dry. It's the same thing. It's just that they put a cow inside, and the Jews are like, oh, it's all getting the blood all over the place. That is not what the Torah says. The Torah teaches, and the Spirit says, don't eat the blood. So then with the blood, if you're going to bleed it, then bleed what comes out naturally. You slit its throat, what came up in the first 5 minutes. I don't know how long you can keep it. And that's it. Whatever is left was left, because there's always going to be blood. There's no other way. And of that red liquid that you sometimes see in the meat, it is not blood. That's not blood. They start to degrade the muscle, and it's red because the muscle is also red. So then it would all seem to be blood, but it's not blood. Well, it's not that I take it. The rules of the whole world is that you cannot take an animal to the fridge if it's not bled, not to the level of the Jews, but a natural bleeding. Why? Because if it has blood, it gets rotten even sooner. I've read that to you already. You already know this. I've commented on this already. Every animal is blood. If they're not blood, they're gonna get. They're gonna. The flesh would perish, and it would. It's not convenient. So it's convenient for them to gather the blood, and they can do a whole bunch of things with the blood. But you call it moronga, right? Moronga, morcilla, with the blood pudding. So if you eat kidneys and buy it in at a slaughterhouse, it's fine. What you think is blood is not blood, and if it were blood, it's already clean blood because it's been bled already. It's ready. So then, I've answered that question very well. And now about well, that's it. Okay. It says, additionally, we as members of the Eternal Truth, we can eat other foods that are prohibited by Scripture. For example, rabbit and shrimps, they eat a lot here. Seafood, I understand that it's all that don't have any scales or fins. Now that about the pig, I understand clearly. But the other foods, are they applied? And that about the blood, how is that applied? Well, I've explained that about the blood. I've explained it. They're all blood already commercially at an acceptable level, not a crazy Jewish level. Now the rest is the same thing about the pig. If your mind says that you can eat seafood, then eat seafood. I'm not going to say absolutely anything. I feel that it's better to not eat seafood. That is my rule. And one shouldn't know. I'm not placing any rules on you. Absolutely, I have not placed any rules on you. It comes to mind, and it's not a good example. Unfortunately, it's not a good example, or maybe it's a very good example. I don't know. But the last one that said, I eat pig, and he put pictures eating pork, left, he and his whole family. Which are those that lived in Cordoba, just so you know. He said, I eat pork. Well, I don't know. Just like that, I don't know. It is your decision. It's up to you. I've told you, I've explained the law, I've explained the spirit of the law, and whatever you feel. Easier than that, impossible, or even more difficult. Very well. Now we move on to a different question. I'd like for you to teach tithes. In your time, you explained in Navi that you must give it to the religious group, or where you belong to, or where you do the aguante, which is where you back up. I'm completely in agreement. I'll consult certain things. For example, tithes is not where you want. It goes to where you think it goes. Where you believe in is what he tried to say. If he's an Adventist, he has to go to the Adventist church. You're not going to give it to the Baptist. If you're Catholic, then give your tithe in your church, your Catholic church, not anywhere else. Because to put your money where your mouth is, what you believe and what you declare is, and that's where your money goes and what you believe in. That is just clear. He've explained it. He says, and it's time. No, things are like that still. So then he says, what else did I say? Is there tithes for the poor? Yeah, there's a tithes for the poor. Tithes for the poor is the third tithe. In the Bible, there are 4 types of tithe. The first tithe that is untouchable, it is what you believe in. It is where you go, the group that you go into, the church that you go to, the leader that you go to. That is your tithe. Untouchable, non-transferable, and it can't go anywhere else. Now, second tithe is used to keep it, to enjoy without having to work, and with even more luxury than common. For example, during Pesakh or Shavuot, for example, the feasts of autumn, which go from Yom Teruah, Day of Trumpets, and ending in Sukkot. That is what the second tithes are. The second tithes are for something else. It is good for the Shabbats. to eat, especially on the Shabbats, because sometimes the people don't eat better on the Shabbats, and actually you should try to have the best food on the Shabbat, not just any food, but a better one. How do you achieve that? Well, by putting money aside, the second tithe. It's also been used for the feast that we thought that it was going to come, which was the Great Tribulation and putting away of things, and it can also be used to help the people, the poor people, that they can celebrate the feasts with that function. Pay attention, because I cannot dedicate too much time to this now. There's a third tithe, and that third tithe is not taken always out. It's not always taken out. It's not that out of what I earn, I have to put 10%. And then another 10%, which is the second one, and then a third, no, not that one. The third tithe is kind of like the function of a second tithe, which every now and then I grab it entirely and I give it to the poor. It plays that function if I remember correctly. I haven't checked it in a long time. And there's a fourth tithe that is kind of the same thing. It doesn't matter. The fourth one doesn't matter. What's important, what I've just told you. That is a question. Is there a tithe for the poor? Yeah, you can take it from the second tithe, but not of the first. So I've heard sometimes that you have to give tithes to the poor. Is that correct? Is that just a help or charity? There's no tithe. A poor does not deserving of tithes. Precisely. They deserve help, charity. It's not the same thing. That you give back to Yahweh. It's not that you give it because of your big heart. No. You owe the tithes. I want you to understand. It's a debt with God. If you don't give it, God takes it out. And He'll take it out with interest. So high. I just tell it to you like that. So if you're an Adventist, then put your tithes in the Adventist church, because or else the law will be applied equally to you. There's a Catholic listening, and you didn't know, but your tithes in the Catholic Church, because God will bless you. It's what you believe. It's a universal law. It works in any belief that you may have, just like that. Anyone, because it's a law. You'll say, but it's annulled by the Torah. Yeah, it's annulled. What's not annulled is the blessing. What's annulled is the curse of dying because of not doing it. That is what is annulled. Now, in the spirituality of the law of giving and receiving, that is not annulled. That is not annulled. So then, there's a spiritual law entirely of tithes. The tithes are, you give it back. It's not that you pay for it. It's not out of your own good heart that you're good and you gave the tithes. No. You're a real son of a bitch, an idiot, if you don't give tithes. That is what it is. And if you do give it, you're not a good person. You're just giving back what Yahweh told you. I want that to be clear. I want that to be very clear, because many people ask me, many people ask me, and they say, these people have been good people all their lives. They've been giving their tithes. That just makes you not a thief. That's all. If my neighbor lets me borrow something and then I give it back to him, he says, you know how good I am? I'm such a good person. No, you idiot. I mean, you didn't even clean it. I don't know if you even gave it to me in time. I told you to give it to me in 3 days, and it's been 3 months that I haven't seen you. And then you say you're a good person. No, hold on, stop. Now you're going to pay more. That is what tithes are. Tithe does not belong to you. It belongs to Elohim, who tests you to see if you return it. And if you do return it, Elohim is so marvelous that not just that it's just, okay, you're returning it. You have to do it by obligation, but because you do it, I'm going to bless you even more. That is a dual payment. It's double, because your obligation is to give it, and the obligation of Elohim is not to bless you, but to top it off. It's double, because to top it off, that you have to do something that it's a duty, a debt. God bless you above that. It's marvelous. That is all I'm saying about. I want you to understand this. The spiritual law is not fulfilled there. The tithe is given of who feeds you. The poor do not feed you. That is what it is. I want you to understand that. Now, can you help the poor? Of course, use your second tithe. And I don't have enough for everyone. Of course, that's why you never have anything. moving on. If you asked for a loan from the bank of $5,000, and out of this money, do we have to give tithe? No, you don't tithe any loan. If I ask for a loan, you should not tithe it because it's a loan. What you do have to tithe is what enters in order that helps you pay for that. Let's suppose, just so you understand, somebody lets me borrow $5,000, the bank lets me borrow $5,000, or my neighbor lets me borrow $5,000. So then do I tithe that? No, I don't tithe that because it was a loan. Now, out of what I earn and what I work, from what enters, I separate this much money of tithe. But under no circumstance can I do this, because that is where the deceit comes in, the wickedness of mind. They loaned me $5,000, then I did a work and I earned $5,000, but I won't use it for me. I'll use it to pay back the loan. How do you see that? Is that just? Okay, I'll make it even easier. They let me borrow $5,000, and I earn, and they say you have to pay $1,000. Okay, I'll pay $1,000 a month. So then I earn $5,000. So then out of the $5,000 that I earned, I grab $1,000 and I give it to Minto. Now I have $4,000 left. Out of the $4,000, then I'll get the tithe from that. I'll take $400 because the other one I gave it back. He says I have to pay for him. No, that is where the trap is. You don't pay from the loan, but everything that enters before paying for the loan, that is something that you tithe. Do you understand what I'm saying? Then after everything that's left from after you pay the tithe, then you pay your own debt. I hope it's clear what I've just explained. Out of my income and then my debt, it is not something that I can deduct. It's not a deductible. I could deduct insurance, gas, anything that is not an earning. What is left is income, paying for all that. That is what you tithe. And then if I have to pay a debt, I pay it from the part that can be tithed, already tithed. Do you understand? Okay, very well. Another question. We've advanced an hour 39. These are good questions. These are excellent questions. You want me to cut it off? A whole bunch. I don't know if I should read just one more. I'll read one more. Oh wow. No. If there's time, I'll read another one. I'll leave it here. I'll leave it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. 8 questions? No. Another Shabbat. Because we don't have time today. I'd like to go into Pesach because that is what we. It is what we're going to live prior to Pesach. Pesach. When is it? Pesach is the 14th of Nisan, but the 14th of Nisan, or Aviv, the 14th of Aviv, not the 13th when we enter into the 14th, but it's the 14th. Once we enter into the 14th, which will be Monday night, we enter into the 14th, because Monday night becomes Tuesday. Do you understand what I'm saying? Somebody is asleep here. Tuesday is the 14th. Halfway through Tuesday, that is when Pesach starts. Pesach is between the two eves, between 12 and 3. That is what they had to sacrifice the lamb, and Pesach is between 12 and 6. You understand? And the lamb would be sacrificed between the two eves. The first eve is when we go into, just like in Hebrew and in Spanish, it is 12 in the afternoon. It's not 12 in the morning. We say 12 in the morning. At night it's 12 in the morning. It's already after 12, we say afternoon. You say 12 in the morning, it sounds like 1 in the morning, it's at night. Okay, 12, when it's when it's late, and then at 12 is when it ends again, the eve in the morning, which begins when the sun goes down. That is the morning. Okay. Pesach is the 14th day between 12 and 6. Just so you understand, if in your house it'll be at 8 p.m., it'll be between 12 and 8. Just so you understand. Okay, very well. Now let us go to, let's read Leviticus 23, 1 through 8. Leviticus 23, 1 through 8. Let's see how the likes are doing. Very good. 288 likes. Doing well. Do not forget to comment this video. And Yahweh spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feasts of Yahweh, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest. And a holy convocation, ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath, O the Lord, in all your dwellings. Talks about the Shabbat, so you don't forget. These are the solemn feasts of Yahweh, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. In other words, they have to be in their time. In the first month, which is the month of Aviv or Nisan, the month that we're in now. The most important month of them all, between the two eves, what I've explained, when the sun goes down, it is a Passover for Yahweh. So then on the 14th day, it's between the noon and when the sun goes down. That is Passover. That is Pesach, right there. That is the time. It's not even the whole 14th. It is from halfway. It is half a day. From halfway through the 14th until the sun goes down, it's already the 15th. That is Pesach. And on the 15th day, when the sun goes down, and it's no longer Pesach, at the 15th day of the same month is the feast of the unleavened bread. So the 15th is where immediately it begins. Pesach ends, and it begins right there in that moment. The feast of the unleavened bread, of the feast of Matzot, the feast of Matzot. It says on the 15th day of the same month is a solemn feast of unleavened bread unto Yahweh. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread. Unleavened bread. I want you to remember that no one is under any obligation because we celebrate the feasts, but the Spirit of the law says, remember that you must eat unleavened bread every day of the 7 days. It's not that if you're going to eat bread, let it be without, let it be unleavened bread. It's like if you want to accompany your, no, it doesn't say that. It says you have to eat if you want to respect the spirit of the feast and whatever you want. If you're going to eat during 7 days unleavened bread. And unleavened bread means that you go as a premium gift for other Christians in the Messianics listening to me. It doesn't mean bread without sin. That is the typical thing they teach in all Christianity and in all of Messianism. Oh, it's a bread without sin. No. It means bread without life. Leaven is not sin, it's life. Leaven is life concentrated in itself that resurrects. That is what leaven is. If you want to compare some product with resurrection life, that is what leaven is. It is precisely what Yeshua said in the parable of the kingdom. Says the kingdom of heaven is compared to, and the kingdom of heaven is compared, means that the kingdom of the Messiah is compared to, because the kingdom of heaven is not in any heaven, but when this is broken, it all becomes heaven or earth, however you want to call it, and the kingdom of the heavens is the kingdom of the Messiah. So then the kingdom of the Messiah is comparable to a woman, it says, who hid leaven in 3 measures of flour, and the flour leavened the whole dough. And that's where the parable ended. So then for the Christians, leaven is a symbol of sin. So then the woman in the kingdom of the Messiah hides sin in three different measures of flour and sin overabounds in humanity. So then during the time of the Messiah, the most sinful time of them all, it'll be hideous, according to the Christians who interpret that leaven is sin. Leaven is not sin. Leaven is the symbol of life, just like that. A symbol of life. Having understood that concept clearly, why do we have to eat for 7 days bread without life? Bread without life means bread of tribulation. Matzah means bread of tribulation. Tribulation which always surrounds Pesach. That is what's interesting. Very interesting. Very well. Haven't explained that. What does Pesach actually mean? Well, Pesach means what the parable says. Pesach means to hop over. Pesach means to hop over. And it is the hop of Yahweh, of salvation, so as to not kill those that did not have their firstborn son. That is why the lamb, the blood of the lamb, of that right would protect the houses from a death established by Yahweh of the firstborn. So then it was gonna hop over the sign of the blood of the lamb in the doorpost. It was gonna skip that property. That is what Pesach means. It is to hop over. What does Pesach mean? Actually, it is the whole leap of all of humanity. It is Yahweh leaping over all of humanity when freeing them from the law. That is what it means, because the law is death. The law is death. And Pesach is the leap over that death. In other words, during Pesach, actually, we were all freed. And the Bible says that directly. But no one understands this. I was listening to this week to a pastor that said, you don't notice that the Lamb of God that taketh away the sin of the world came, and that's why we have to confess the sins. And that he was speaking, and he didn't even know what he was reading. When John the Baptizer saw Yahweh, who was playing the role of Yeshua, he saw Yeshua, and he said, this is the Lamb of God. It is God personified in a lamb that taketh away the sin, not of the people, but of the world. In other words, it's so explicit, this message is, and sometimes this is that the most explicit it is, the most non-understandable it is, and more closed, because it does not take the sin from your heart. It does not take the sin away from those that repent. It does not take away the sin of those that accept Jesus. It doesn't take away the sin from those that ask to be forgiven. It takes the sin of the world. Of the world. What does that mean? And it's in all of scriptures. This is the Lamb of God that taketh away the sin of the world. Not of you, but of the world. Why? Because sin is the transgression of the law. What is the definition of sin? Don't tell me wickedness. It is the transgression of the law, because the transgression of law is sin. It is sin. What is sin? Transgression of the law. But when there is no law, there's no transgression of the law, because what will you transgress if there's no law? If the Torah, which was law for Israel, is already annulled, if when for many years marijuana, not marijuana, California would not allow for marijuana to be smoked, and if they'd grab you with a little package of marijuana, you would go to jail. A little package, I'm talking a bigger one, I mean, forget it. For years prohibited, prohibited in all of the U.S., and I'm talking about marijuana here. It was prohibited to smoke marijuana, and all of a sudden, the law was annulled. Now it's allowed to be annulled, and all that were in prison said, "Hey, what about us? We're imprisoned because you grabbed us with marijuana." And they had to make a law. They didn't know what to do with the prisoners, those that were condemned. And then he said, "No, when you were in prison because the law existed, but it no longer exists. You're going to keep me in prison due to a law that does not exist?" You see how it gets complicated. So then they start to analyze every case and to let them go, because they said, of course, it's not just, because now they had marijuana, they were imprisoned, but not because once, 2 or 3 times, they're leaving times, not that there's no law. You could be smoking marijuana, and I'm imprisoned here for so many years, and I can't even smoke inside of in prison. You see, if there's no law against marijuana, then it's allowed. There's no condemnation. You understand? There's no sin. There's no way that California can make me a judgment if they see me smoking marijuana, because there's no transgression of the law, because the law allows me to smoke marijuana. You understand what I'm saying? Well, this about taking the law away is even more amplified. It's not that you have to make a law that says you can smoke marijuana or not. No, there's no law. Just like that, there is no law. And if there's no law, then you cannot transgress something that does not exist. Then there's no sin. Sin no longer exists. That's what's marvelous. It's marvelous. But then nothing. Sin does not exist. Wickedness exists. You can be evil, unjust, but not sin. The transgression of the law is what's important. Yeshua, Yahweh, was the Lamb of God, like John saw it, that taketh away the sin of the world. But this was already prophesied way before in Daniel chapter 9. I want to remind you that, because you have to have everything in mind. Everything in mind. If you don't have everything in mind, then you cannot see things with clarity. Daniel chapter 9, 24th text says, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon the holy city to put away the transgression and to make an end of sins. And to make an end of sins. All the Christians read this, they read this to make an end of sins. But then, did Yeshua place, or Jesus the Christ, an end to the Christ, or did he not put an end to sin? Because here it is clear what I'm saying. I'm not making anything up. Here it says that when Yeshua were to come, he was to put an end to sin. What part of that phrase do you not understand clearly? To put an end to sin and to atone for iniquity. There's no more guilt. They will all live. It's all atoned for. To bring the everlasting justice and to anoint the Holy of Holies. It is more than clear, absolutely clear, that sin no longer exists. How did he put an end to sin? By annulling the law. Not by decree. Not by a decree. From here on out, that law, like I've told you in California, that law that prohibited marijuana, now we allows it or not. No. The Constitution, which was the Torah, cast it as garbage. It no longer goes. So there's no law, there's no sin. And Paul, intelligently so, who was the only one that understood this in some measure, because in some things maybe he needed a little more in a lot, but in this he did understand this clearly. Paul says in 1 Corinthians 15, he says something very clear. And I want to read it. I have an urge to read it in a different Bible. Let's see what this one says. 1 Corinthians 15 is what I'm reading. And everything has to do. This Pesakh, I'm speaking about nothing but Pesakh here. 1 Corinthians 15, I'll read first in the Spanish, RV 1960. 1 Corinthians 15, 56 or 55. O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? The sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is the law. What is the power that sin has above people? The law. That is the power. The power. One might say, but if the law is to take this away the sin, no. The law gives power unto sin because the law authorizes that you transgress, that you transgress. Because if there's no law, there's no transgression. So then who gives him the power of saying, this is a sinner? Because there's a law that says, do not do this, so that we can accuse. There's no law against witchcraft. We cannot say, this is a witch, we should burn her. There has to be a law that says we have to burn the witches. So then this is a witch, what does the law say? We have to burn her. No, there's no law about the witch that says this is a witch, and what? Your mom too. Your mom that bore you also, she's a witch. And who's going to say anything? So then, what I'm trying to present here is that the power that sin has is the law. Once the law is annulled, then the power of sin it disappears. And with that, along with it, sin, and sin no longer exists. That is why the Lamb of God that taketh, he makes disappear, he annuls sin. Look at how it says in the Spanish DHH, this part, in 1576, it says, oh, where is death thy sting, and where's thy victory? Power exercises its power due to sin. Sin exercises its power by the law. So then, it is very clear this subject is Pesach. We celebrate it as the most important feast after Yahweh begat himself on the earth, because it's the day in which sin disappeared forever. Oh yes. What do we celebrate during Pesach? The victory of humanity, the victory of life. We did go through tribulation, 7 days of tribulation, that represents, and I believe so, let's suppose, the 7 days of creation, because there were tribulation days, and don't think that the 7th millennium will be one that is going to be of so much feast, because you have to work on this earth. You have to work to rebuild everything, so that it stays of work, of tribulation. It is the feast that removes sin. Today, no, not today, but in 3 days or 2 days for some, when we raise the cup and we drink the cup, the blood of the Lamb, it is the same blood of the serpent. That wine represents our victory. The death of Yahweh represents the liberation of sin, not from us, but of the world. Right now, only we understand this. Then later the people will understand. Then they'll say, oh, now we understand. Only lies was the inheritance of others. Now we understand it. So then it is very special and crucial, and I invite you to celebrate Pesach. But I'm talking with the heart radiant with joy. It is our victory. It is not a feast to be, oh, well, it is the death of Yeshua. No, it is the death of Yahweh. Yes! That's how he annulled sin. The death of sin. If we had been said, crucified him. Yes, of course, crucify him. Yes, of course. What are we going to do with him? Crucify him. He didn't do anything. That is what you say. So then strike him. I can tell you, if he didn't do anything, look at the fucking thorns we have. My grandparents and my ancestors and my great-grandparents, they all died because of this guy. What are we going to go with and crucify him? He looks innocent, crucify him. But he didn't make a law that's impossible to be fulfilled. You know what this man came here for? To be crucified. It says, but this guy is worse. What do you call the high priest? What did they call him? Okay, Cephas and Ananias. It says this one's worse than Cephas. Yes. but with a smile like this. They didn't think in time, let's crucify him now. Let's crucify him. It's just, don't you want just a little bit of punishment? Do you have? Yeah, that'd be great. Do you have? Yes. Those thorns this week. Get a good thorn and place them on his head. Yes, yes, yes. And the whips, you know how many whips we received. I mean, violations. There were injustices, pain, all types of laws, Hammerian laws that he discovered that were horrible. I mean, whip him. See how long he can bear until it's right in the point, right there, that he can't bear anymore. Yes, of course. If you don't have that spirit, that you think it's laughable, then you will never celebrated Pesach and have not understood. So the way we celebrate Christmas and when we celebrate his death is our victory. It is his symbol of greatness. If he were to not die, he was going to be a despot forever and we would be dead forever. So then it's a symbol of justice. It is a symbol of life. It is a symbol of victory. It is a symbol of the exit of this condition, human condition, the exit of the human form. It's what this is all about, to drink the blood of the Creator. In the symbol, it says, I'll drink this blood because he died. And by dying, he freed me from the law. If you don't understand what I'm saying and you think that's wrong, and you think it's horrible, you have not ever understood what the eternal truth teaches. You have not understood it, and you cannot be a Messiah. You cannot be. Because the Messiah understands this clearly. He was playing the role of the Messiah, and as a Messiah, as a role, he had to die. Because a triumphant Messiah would come 2,000 years later, but he had to die because he was dying as Messiah, as Elohim the Creator, dying. As the giver of the law, he was dying. As the lamp that taketh away, he was dying. So then, under no circumstances can we say, don't crucify him. No. Let us try to save him. No. Crucify him, crucify him, crucify him. And they did so. They did so. And we celebrate that they did so. We celebrate that they did so. So then that is what it means, actually, what Pesach means. It is our victory over the Lamb, over the serpent, over Yahweh. Our liberation, it is what everything it means, and is the greatest feast there is. Taking Christmas out, Christmas and Pesach, the greatest feast. There's no other feast that's greater, except for these two. These are fabulous. Just like that, fabulous. Both of them. No one has understood Pesach, mind you, okay? No one. Only we understand Pesach. And also, during the symbols, everything that I've said is concentrated in the liberation from Egypt. It was liberated during Pesach. The reward of sin is death, Yahweh. So then he paid for the price that he gave us ourselves of dying. He paid for it, and we're all free. That is why everyone will be resurrected. They have the feast. There's no eternal hell or anything that punishes them. No, a purifying hell that they learn to live in a society. Also, if that is true, then Pesach, and I'm not saying that it's this one. I love the idea, but I'm not saying it because later you make up you get your hopes up and all the rest. And during Pesach, it is the best time, the best feast, so that it is the liberation from Babylon. At least for the Messiah, to be freed from Babylon. First, we're below Babylon, absolutely. But during the time of Pesach, it is the best time so that the Messiah can be freed from Babylon. And also, if the Messiah is freed from Babylon, it is the best time for the return of the Messiah. Yeshua said, do this in remembrance of me. He took the cup, he took the bread, he said, this bread, this lechem, this matzah, is my body that is broken due to you for everyone, and this is my blood that it is poured over because of you. Of course, the blood and the body of the role that the Messiah had, who was Yahweh. But he said, do this in remembrance of me, and I'll translate that for you. Do this in remembrance of the Messiah, because they saw him as the Messiah. They didn't see him as Yahweh. They could never see him as Yahweh. So then he says, do this in remembrance of the Messiah. What you're seeing, this means then that it's the return of the Messiah. Then, because he says, I wish that we can take this once again in the kingdom of my Father. I'll abstain from doing this until we are together in the kingdom of my Father. What does that mean? That the Messiah will appear during a special time, which is Pesach. It's clear that I see that absolutely clear. Not just I see it, but also the Jews and the religion as their main point. They understand that in the apparition of the Messiah is during the month of Aviv. It's the most important one. And if they had to choose an appropriate time, they would choose the feast of Pesach. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. As many rabbis say, because it is the time, the most messianic time possible. The most messianic time that's possible. They don't even understand why, but they do understand the symbol of the liberation from Egypt. They do understand that. They understand that that lamb protected them and hopped over them, and there was tribulation for the rest. They do understand that. So then, summing up those things in the meaning, they could get a glimpse in, well, it is the most appropriate time for the Messiah. Why? Because it really is the most appropriate time for the Messiah. Because the Messiah died during Pesach, and the Messiah said, I will never again do this again until I do it once again. And when he celebrates Pesach again, evidently so. And so then the strongest promise of a return per se of the Messiah is at least during Aviv. That's what I wanted to say. At least during Aviv. Very well. That is all I'd like to explain about Aviv. Now I'm going to go over to what we do. You all already know, but I'll explain what we do in case there's one that does not know. First of all, how do we make the bread? The bread is made, and the video is no longer there because it was lost with the channel that Babylon took. It was our most viewed video, at least in the channel that we had. It's like how we made matzah, but of course there's no need for you to watch the video, nor will I make another one. I'm not going to make it, nor do I expect for you to make one. But it is very simple, the bread we make, in other words, the matzah we make. You can use fat, vegetable fat, or ghee, or cow fat, but doesn't matter if it's in the Torah or not. I tell you how we do it, how we make that matzah. Or you can use some type of oil, olive oil, vegetable oil, whatever, but it's very good with these types of fat. What do we use it for with ghee, or what was it? We use cow fat. We use cow fat, and it's great. We use ghee, butter, give or take. Cow's fat, it works kind of like butter, same thing. Butter's fine. How do we do this? Here comes the recipe. And you can adjust it, give or take, 6 cups of white flour. It can be whole wheat or anything. We use the white one, the finest one you can find. Yes, the finest one. That is the best flour. 6 cups of white flour. If you want wheat, whole wheat, use whole wheat, whichever you want. 2 teaspoons of salt, not tablespoons, but teaspoons. 200 grams of vegetable shortening. How do you make it? Well, it could be your Vitamix. You can use 1 cup of water, and don't use the flaxseed, the dark ones, but the golden flaxseed, and 1 cup of, it's a trinity, and 1 cup of oil. 1 cup of water, 1 cup of flaxseed, golden flaxseed, and 1 cup of oil. And so they are 3 in 1 because they become one, and then they never again separate. It's 1 cup of water, could be the Holy Spirit. 1 cup of golden flaxseed, which could be, no, let's go back. 1 cup of water, that could be Jesus. That could be Jesus, yeah. 1 cup of golden flaxseed, that could be the Father, because it has oil and consists. That could be the Father. And olive oil, symbol of the Holy Spirit. There you have it: the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. 1 plus 1 plus 1. It has to be very powerful liquefier, not the ones that you buy in your fucking third world countries. It's not going to be good. It becomes a dough that has such viscosity. And the flaxseed has to. The flaxseed has to already. That's a good detail. The golden flaxseed has to already been made powder, and then you mix. It's easier like that. The golden flaxseed, the cup of water, and the cup of oil, that whole trinity in equal parts, and you have that one, and you use that one as if it were vegetable shortening, which is spectacular. For anything, it's a secret of the eternal truth. Well, so then, going back to the recipe of the matzah, 6 cups of white flour, 2 teaspoons of salt, 200 grams of whatever fat that you want to use, the one that I just mentioned, or 200 grams of butter, or maybe even a little less if it's butter. 200 grams of butter may be too much. Yeah, we could reduce that to half. Let's say 100 grams of butter or fat, and you can test it out. Start making tests right now. Don't wait till 2 days. If you've never made this and you don't know, which is the most common, if you've never practiced this, then start to test it out right now. If you mess up, then you throw it away. Start over. 6 cups of white flour, 2 teaspoons of salt, 200 grams of vegetable shortening that I've just told you, or let's suppose 1 gram, and that is to be tested, of butter or fat. Mix all the ingredients and knead it until you have a soft, homogeneous dough. I had said that we have 18 minutes. I say leave it at 30 minutes. In the video, I said 18 minutes since we start to test it. Now I said, no, leave it rest. The more you leave it rest, it's better. It turns out better. So the Jews say, no, because the leaven is being formed and already for do that. Fuck off. Okay, don't worry about that. Don't worry about, what is this leaven? No, the only thing that has it more homogeneous, and it's a lot better. So then you let it rest for a half hour, and then you put something to cover it, a plastic to cover it, because it dries up. And afterwards, you make little balls, and then you knead it. You spread it out, and you can make it as thin or as thick as you want. The thickness, sometimes I see the pictures, and it's kind of embarrassing. I want to cry because I see some tortas like this. I know that you cannot eat. I know. But I see them thick like that and burned and everything. I say, wow, that must be like a heart attack. But we make it very fine. And then in the very hot, on the hot stove, just quickly on one side and the other, and then some bubbles, and that's it. If you can do that, then you're going to be able to do whatever thing, just like that. You can, just like this. How many of you do those tortillas that you can do this? If you can't do this, that is not the style that we do. It's not that it's wrong. You do whatever you want. But we make some tortillas that we can fold like this. And we can make burritos and do whatever with that. If we want to make them harder, of course, we let them cook more until they become a tostada. I mean, we've done that, but the soft ones are good. Very well. Very well. I've taught it. It's better to cook it in a hot stove, even if it's wrong. Even if you eat wrong. It's like a pan, a very hot pan. That's the way it is. Iron pan. Medium strong, not with everything, but not low. It has to be low to high. It has to be quickly like that. A flat slab. And then, and I'm speaking to everyone that don't make tortillas. Because all of Mexico and all the ones that make tortillas, they know how to make them. But I'm referring to all the rest of the countries that I, in my life in Argentina, saw a tortilla. They told me what a tortilla is. I thought it was a pair of lesbians in Argentina. Leslie corrects me. The tortilla was a potato. I was saying, I was giving fake information. We have the tortilla of potato, tortilla of spinach. Now the tortillas are the chicks that like chicks. That is what they call a tortillera, a tortilla chick. Right, they don't call it a tortilla. Tortillera. I don't know. Don't ask me. Is it wrong? Maybe it's extremely wrong, but that's what I knew. Because here everyone says, we're all tortilleras. And I said, well, do whatever you want. If they say that sin no longer exists. Exactly. Now they're all hiding. Just look, with the hands like this, with the little tortillas like this, they flip them like this. Exactly. But what a tortilla is, taking what the potato tortilla, which is the Spanish one, it's Spanish, super Spanish tortilla. Do they call it potato tortilla or do they call it something else? Has a different name. It could be they call it a different thing, right? I think I forgot the name right now. Well, anyway, it's spectacular. The Spaniards are the best ones making it. The Argentinians also, we make it practically the same thing, but the Spaniards, they eat that very daily, very often, very well. That's what a tortilla was, that right there. Exactly. But what they don't eat is the tortilla that's known here, not even corn. It doesn't exist under any aspect, it doesn't exist. It's not that you can go to a place to buy it. I didn't even know they existed. Let's start with that. I didn't even know they existed. They didn't exist. Very well. But it is very delicious, and we learn to do it, and we make it, and of course, we make the best. So then, before wrapping this up, how to celebrate Pesach, and I copied this from an old subject that was presented before, but I'd like to review it. I want for this Pesach to be celebrated. It's a potato tortilla, right? But hold on, there was something else. What do they call it in Spain? Can you give me it has a certain name. Instead of tortilla. It's not a garnish. Well, forget it. We, at some point in time back then, and I want Pesach to be celebrated in a special way. Okay, all of you, seriously. For you to do it seriously and special, and for it to be joy. We used to make a list, because we would take from the lamb, we would make a list. We don't do that anymore, but it was fun. We would make a list how many people were going to celebrate in that house, of all those the guests, because that's what they had to do back in the day, the first one of them all. They had to designate a lamb per family. If it was too much for that family, they had to invite other people for that lamb. So there was a list from this lamb that we already have. So many people will eat. So then it was good. We started to do it. It was fun, but There's no need to do it. It's symbolic. 2, second point, to take all the leaven and food with leaven outside of our eyesight. That is true. And start from tomorrow. Tomorrow, Sunday, start to check your house. It's not that you're going to be a mortal sinner because there's no sin. Going back to the same thing. We're going to celebrate it in a fun way, in a way that's coherent. So then we're going to eliminate from our house all products that have leaven. And when I say to eliminate, it's not to eliminate from the house per se, like we used to say in some time, but rather to eliminate from our eyesight. So then grab a little bag and grab and all the bread that you have, dry, toasted, anything that you have, either you eat it all that day or you put it on a bag and you put it away. A bag that can not be found by the kids or the dogs or you. All the cookies, and because if you go to the house without, I'm going to advance. I have cookies here. I have all many things. I have more cookies here. And Brian bought some things here that have leaven. So then what we have to do is not to buy anything and grab everything, but from tomorrow, grab everything in a bag and put it away. Put it away in a place that you won't find it. So then if you find, from tomorrow, if you find something else, you keep it away, or you throw it away, or you eat it. So you just make it disappear from your reach, from the kitchen, or where you put food, all types of product that has leaven. That is easy to understand, right? Easy to understand. It's not a time to make pizza, or to eat a burger. No, it's not the time. It's not the time. It's the time to make everything disappear. You're going to miss the leaven already. That's what's beautiful about the feast. If we do it correctly, there comes a point when you say, oh, it's a torture, this dog shit fucking bread. That's what I end up saying. I start eating it. It's so delicious, so delicious. Then I end up saying, what a fucking dog shit bread. I know it's a bread of tribulation, dead bread. And it's not the bread for the dead as the Mexicans use. I end up hating it. When is this feast going to end? And then to once again eat pizza, bread with leaven, some Argentinian sweet bread, or from the Guatemalans that's sweet, or not something that is bland. Just anything that has. Why do you have to be? It's so ironical. No, I'm not ironical. Anything that has leaven. Anything else leaven, you want to eat. So then that is what's beautiful of the feast. That makes you miss what maybe you enjoy every day. That's why take the best, disappear, the leaven. What else? Monday the 13th of Aviv, which is Monday. Tuesday will be the 14th of Aviv. To check once again, and tomorrow we start to clean up, or today, or after or before the Boca game, because Boca River against the Chickens, I hope we win. On Monday, to check everything once again. Let's see if you find something that has leaven. There are many things that have leaven. You don't know. Many things. Start to read the packages. Very well. On Tuesday, this Tuesday, when the sun goes down, this Tuesday, well, before the sun goes down, we here as a group, right after noonday, I don't know what day, Leslie told you to come at 2 or something. What time did you tell him? Around 2? It'll be this time. We decided to eat a different type. It was a soup, right? It's a soup with meat and everything, but it's a soup with noodles and everything, and we thought it was going to be excellent. And we have cheese, we have queijo, parmesan, the best, the mejor do mundo of our parents. It's written here. It says here, Queijo parmesão made by the best country do mundo that taught us to play football. It has won all the last country games that we've played in football, and we're terrified. I mean, it is, how good is this? I mean, it's spectacular. Yeah, it's spectacular. Oh, wow. Is this half? Yeah, maybe less. Those are the ones that you buy. You know the ones that you buy. Is it a fourth part of this? Fourth part of this, give or take, that big one? So then, yeah. Depending, we're going to eat more queijo, more queijo. More queijo. More queijo. So then, yes. Many, yes, exactly. Spectacular gift, say spectacular. I almost want to say that Pelé is the king of football, but no. But no, I'm not going to get there. Kind of short of that. No. I'm just playing him. He is a king, but not the king. Very well. Okay, moving on. What was I talking about? Okay, on Tuesday, we get together. What you're going to eat, try to get together 3 or 4 hours before the sun goes down. Why? Because depending, if you're going to get together with someone, that's fine. If you're going to get together with friends or lineages, you can get together to make the food. Now, for sunset, all the food has to be made. We don't eat lamb. You can eat lamb if you want, but that symbol, I don't want to eat lamb anymore. Nor Pesakh or anyone, but taking that out. I would eat that different day, but not on Pesach precisely. Why? Because it's not the correct symbol to eat a lamb. It is not the symbol. I hate it already to eat lamb. The lamb also represents the lamb, which is the Messiah that comes now. So then I don't find that to be okay. But you can do whatever you want. But whatever you're going to eat, you can eat. Meats, whatever you want. Not like the Jews that don't eat meat during their Passover. They make all the food. Everything has to be ready before sunset. The matzah has to be ready. You have to have the wine bought. You have to have wine with alcohol. If it's not with alcohol, it's no good. If you're going to celebrate with grape juice, virgin, it is no good. That does not mean that it's the blood of Yeshua. No, it has to be blood with alcohol, not white or pink wine. It's not white or pink. It is red wine. It's red wine. It has to be whichever, but it's a deep red wine that it looks like blood. Very well. So then, when the sun is about to set, and I advise every one of you, that is the time of doing the rite of washing one's feet. The first thing that we do, the rite of washing our feet. What does it mean and what it doesn't mean? That doesn't matter. Yeshua, who was Yahweh, in his last talk with his disciples, he told them, look, you're already cleansed. What I'm going to do now, I want you to do it from here on out in memory of this feast and in my memory, and you have to do it. But he said, no, I don't want to do it. If you don't do it, then the food won't be ready. Okay, then yes, I want to do it. No, I didn't say everything. I just said the feet. So then that rite of the washing of the feet, which is, they call it the rite of humility. I think it's the rite of humility. It's a special rite. We wash our feet once unto another. I look for a partner, your wife, your son, your friend, your lover, whatever. I don't know, whichever that believes whatever you believe. And you wash your feet one another, and we start with that rite when the sun is setting, not before and not afterwards. So then you have time. When the sun is setting, precisely, we do that rite in just minutes. And then, in those minutes, we grab the cup and we grab the bread. One first, one afterwards, and we read the text that this cup represents this blood, that this blood represents My blood that for you is poured out, and this bread represents my body, my flesh that is cut up because of you. Do this in my remembrance of me. I read the text and whatever one of the gospels that where they are found, and afterwards I drink the cup. We drink in one sole cup, all of us, this cup. And someday it'll be gold, but right now it's golden. We drink from this cup, and it's enough for everyone, and we pass a plate that has many matzah, because or else it won't be enough, and then we do this right. After this is when we wrap up with a word of prayer, and we start to eat. As an option, this is a Jewish tradition. You read Psalms 113 and 114 while you wash your feet. Last Shabbat, last Pesach, we didn't do it. We forgot about those Psalms. But Psalms 113 and 114. And when Pesach ends, after eating, you read Psalms 115 through 118. You see how in the Gospel it says, and having read and singing, they went out. Well, that reading was having read the Psalms. Very well. What do you have to have in your table? I've advanced from the washing of the feet to the rite of drinking a little bit of wine, saying, this is my body, this is my blood, and a little bit of matzah. Now we move on to the dinner. What do you have to have in the table of the dinner, of the supper? You have to have matzah, of course, a lot of matzot. Matzah singular, matzot is plural, unleavened bread, bitter herbs. That is what you have to have, because we're in a feast. That was a terrifying one. It was tribulation for whom? For Yahweh. So then we see bread that's dead, bitter herbs, we drink blood, and we eat the meat of Yahweh and say, yeah, it's a bitter feast. We turn all this around because it's all been fulfilled. It's all been fulfilled, and we understand it, and we turn this around, and we make it a victory feast. That's perfect. That's the way we must understand it. But that is the way Yahweh understood, okay? Because he said, I'm not going to drink of this anymore until I drink it with you in my kingdom. Having said, he's not going to do another feast, but he's going to make one of celebration, you see? It's the same thing that we do. So then, what are the bitter herbs that you have to eat to give life to all this? Well, we have gone through many bitter herbs, from anything that was horrible. We've even had, just anything, I mean anything. Different types. We decided on the most simple ones, which is, no, remember the weight shots. We saw what it's something that is bitter, which is dandelion, or dandelion as it's called in English, or achicoria for some, or radiccheta. It's all the names that they use for dandelion in different countries. Dandelion. Lion's tooth, as they say in Spanish. All that is one bitter herb that is delicious, but the secret is that you don't have to put any dressing on it. We hand it out without any salt or anything. That is how you feel the bitter right there, or else you don't feel how bitter it is. You agree? And we, without addressing it, everyone grabs a little bit, and so that is how we have matzah. We have that, and we eat that, and we eat the plate that we have to eat. So then, it's important to have the bitter herbs. Anything that is on the table, of course, it should not have any leaven. I mean, that is obvious. Before the question of saying, can you buy the matzah of the Jews? Yes, they package it, and they're delicious, they're crunchy, they're nice. They have no leaven. We're conscious or unconscious. If they add if they were to, what they sell in the ancient books, it says they say it's a drop of blood of I don't want to say the word, of a non-Jew, let's say, one of those sacrificed. So then for them, it has to have that drop of blood. So if that is true, maybe it is. It's not the one that is on sale. Okay, don't think so. Don't think that they're going to put blood in that. Okay. So then can you eat? Yes, of course. What else? Ready. And drink wine. Not a lot. Don't get drunk. It's a feast not to get drunk. Okay, 9. Once the sun went down, and then the 15th of Aviv begins on Wednesday. In other words, Wednesday evening. Pesakh, when the sun goes down, it's already Wednesday. It's the 15th. And on the 15th, it is a Shabbat. You cannot work. It is no work of a slave. So if you didn't understand that since before, whoever listening to me that wants to do things right, don't ask me if it's a sin or not, because I'm going to say, no, it's not a sin. I had to work. Is it a sin, Brother Christian? No, it's not a sin. I'm not your brother. No, I'm your friend, which is a lot better than to just be your brother. I don't like brother. I mean, either way, it's fine. I mean, I'll be your brother if you want. The brother means serpent, but either way. And it comes from German, hermano in Spanish is hermano, which is German. That is Germanic. It was a serpent in this German. It's a serpent in German. German comes from German. Comes from serpent. That's so. Not because of the word brother, but with the brother in the word in Spanish, which is hermano. But it is not a day to work, because it's the first day that started, which is the feast of the unleavened bread. So then that day, it is not a workable day. And I'm speaking, let me look it up here. I don't know where I placed it. Okay, let's see. Well, is it here? I'm talking about Wednesday, the 24th of April, which is the 15th of April. Of course, as soon as the sun goes down on Wednesday, we're celebrating Pesach. First day comes. That day is a Shabbat. All of Wednesday. It ends Wednesday night, and Thursday you can work, and Friday you can work, but we don't eat anything that has leaven. If you were to eat by accident, by a mistake, because you didn't use your head, because your head was thinking about something else, because you forgot, and you eat leaven during the 7 days, don't write to me. You've already been forgiven, because you're an idiot. At some point in time in those 7 days, no, ill expressed. At one time of those 7 days, don't write to me like many people, many times. Oh, I made a mistake and I feel so bad. No. You will not be cut off. I'll tell it to you right now. No one is cut off, but if you want to do it in the correct way, just avoid all leaven. Okay? Very well. Very well. Where are we now? Where did I leave off on? Okay, right here. Now, Thursday and Friday, the workable days. Thursday, Saturday, which is the Shabbat, is the 18th. Now, Sunday, we have a feast, which is the feast of Bikurim. The feast of Bikurim, and that Sunday, during Bikurim, also, it is not workable that Sunday. I want you to know. Sunday is not workable. We have a Dominical law that day of Sunday, because it is a feast of Bikurim, which means the feast of the barley, the feast of the first harvest. It is the feast, the first fruits, which are gathered from the wheat and the barley. And then on Monday, it's a workable day. And on Tuesday, it is a day non-workable. It's another matzah. I want you to understand that it's another Shabbat. I want you to understand that clearly. The feast ends, and we should not work. I'll read it to you in the text, not because I'm making anything up. Let's go to Leviticus 23, and it reads as follows. It reads as follows. Passover, this is a solemn feast of Yahweh. In the first month, 14th day of the month, between the two eves, it is a Passover unto Yahweh. The 15th day of this month, it's solemn feast of the bread without leaven unto Yahweh. 7 days shall thou eat unleavened bread. The first day will be a holy convocation. No servant work shall you do. It's the Shabbat, the first day. That would be precisely Wednesday the 15th, first day. And you shall offer unto Yahweh 7 days an burnt offering, and there shall also be the seventh day shall be a holy convocation. No work of a slave shall thou do. It'll be Tuesday, April the 30th. That day it's a Shabbat because it's the seventh day, the 21st of Aviv. What else was there? And now comes the feast of Bikurim. It says, when ye have entered into the land and you harvest the fruits thereof, you shall bring unto the priest the first fruits of your harvest, and the priest shall offer up the first fruits before Yahweh, that you may be accepted the next day, in the day of rest, the day of Shabbat, he shall present them. The day that ye offer up the sheaf of wheat, you shall offer a 1-year-old lamb without defect, and their offering shall be 2 tens of flour with oil, burnt offering unto Yahweh with a delightful smell. Thou shalt not eat bread or any toasted wheat up until this day, until you have offered the offering unto your Elohim. It is a perpetual statute. It doesn't exactly say that it does not workable, but it's another Shabbat. That's how it was taken, like a Shabbat also, right? That's the way it is, very clear. And on that day of Bikurim is when the countdown begins, the countdown of the Omer, which is a countdown which in the end of it all never, well, I'm going to measure what I'm trying to say. It is very special, this countdown, because there's a reason why Yahweh makes us count. It is very interesting. But that countdown, it could be the days and the weeks. It gets to 50. When it gets to 50, it is Shavuot, the feast of the harvest of the wheat in Shavuot. So then, but it begins from Bikurim. 15 days, you shall count 7 weeks and 49 days, and on the following day, the one following the 7th day, you'll count 50. It is Shavuot, precisely. It is clear, very clear. Everything that we shall enjoy, and I wish for every one of you to enjoy entirely of these feasts. And like I had told you, actually, I wish for you to enjoy greatly these feasts, because it's something that is marvelous and unique, that we don't understand them exactly, but I think that they will be fulfilled again. Why? Because the feasts of Pesach, I'll define it today like never defined it before, anything, is the feast of the Mashiach. What happened during Pesach? The Mashiach died. What happened during Pesach? He initiated his walk and his ministry. The Mashiach did. And that's when he was baptized. The Mashiach was baptized during Pesach. The Mashiach. And then in Pesach, the Mashiach was chosen the king of Israel during Pesach. The Mashiach promised, once again, in a figurative manner in the language, figuratively, that he was the Mashiach, to again celebrate with his followers Pesach. So then Pesach, it is the feast of the Mashiach, but in the feast of the Mashiach, of the Lamb that taketh away the sin of the world, now we can see that phrase in a way with a different dimension, because Yahweh, as a Messiah, took away the sin of the world literally, but the Messiah, as a Messiah, the definitive one and only one, will take away the sin of what's called actually the transgressions and the wickedness. He is in charge of it. Elohim will not do anything. The Messiah is the one that will take away and teach and take away the sin of the world. In other words, this time of every person. And he will teach how to behave and place a different type of laws. That's what the Messiah will do. So then when we start to see it wide viewpoint, it takes on a dimension that you had never seen before, not just the feast of our victory. Once we see it from the point of view of the Messiah, it is a feast of the Messiah. Because not just in the figure of the Messiah did he die on Pesach, but he resurrected also during Pesach. This is part of the 7 days of this, of the unleavened bread. So then the Messiah was anointed during Abib. The Messiah was anointed as king. The Messiah died during Abib, and he resurrected on Abib. So then it is the entire feast of the Messiah. There's no other feast that the Messiah has fulfilled as a Messiah. If you notice, there's no messianic feast figure anywhere else, except for Yom Kippur maybe. That there's a lamb and a Satan, but that is the figure of Yahweh. Actually, that is Yahweh's figure. But the Messiah, as an important feast, it is Pesach, the feast of the Messiah. That's why it's got a dimension that's still we don't know. Today I revealed a bit, just a little bit, but yet there is still there's a more fulfillment of Pesach, and it is the most important fulfillment. The first one was the first part, Messiah dying, and then the Messiah resurrecting. But the final one is always the most important one, and we had never seen that. It's the first time that I am revealing this, that the feast of Pesach will be fulfilled again. And it's most important fulfillment, more important than the previous one, even because it's a feast. I'll repeat again, it is the feast of the Mashiach with a dimension that still we have yet to comprehend. Without any further ado, I will move on to see if there's any questions with regards to Pesach. And if there is, I'll answer it, and if there isn't, we shall wrap up this subject. Let me see. Let's go with this one. This one has nothing to do with Pesach. Let's see another one. Does this one have anything to do with Pesach? I don't think it does. No, not that. This is for a question for the Shabbat. I'll answer the one on the Shabbat. Let's go to this one. Not that either. Doesn't have anything to do with Pesach. Let's go to another one. Said answered. Sauder, who gave us the cheese. Thank you. I hope you enjoy it. It is the best cheese in the world, in my opinion. So he's tried it. Wow, spectacular. Yes, we're going to try it now. Spectacular. Very, very many thanks. There's no question. I love that. I love that. For the two motives. You either didn't pay attention or you all understood everything. If you're not cheese to your soup, you don't eat soup. You don't drink soup, you drink whatever. I never had any soup in all of Latin America. You don't know how to make soup. That's it. First, you add something that you shouldn't add any. It's called, what's it called? Whiskey, or what else do you call it? And the other ones? Chayote. I'll repeat this again so that you understand the words of our mouth. If you live in North America and you add that garbage, a squash, you don't make soup. It's garbage because it has no taste. Eat it somewhere else. I like it with a little bit of oil, but not in a soup. You ruin everything. You ruin everything. I'd teach you how to make a soup if you want, but it's at a different time, different life. But here, in a different dimension, in a different opportunity. But the soups here are a disaster. Look at what I'm telling you. What else? Oh yeah, what Leslie was saying. The soup has cheese. You have to add cheese. Parmesan cheese. Not cheese. Not watija or ouija or... What is that cheese? That narcotija that smells like feet? None of that. Well, you didn't understand because they don't know about it. They think that the soup is something that they, in their life... Exactly. Your rice also, and many things you can add. I mean, cheese, even on top of the pizza, a little bit of that. Yeah, we use that cheese for everything, In potatoes also. That's the word that I wanted to say, tapa, tapa. That's the one, they don't call it a tapa? Like a lid? When I go to Spain someday, I haven't been there, but many things that I want to try. One is the potato tortillas, to see how they make it. I want to ask also, paella, and don't tell me what it has in it. I'm just playing. How do you want it? Nah, just bring them. I think it's all allowed by the Torah. No, I'm just playing. There are many foods, but there's something special that I think I want to order in Spain someday. And I say in the movies, fried churros. Oh well, in Argentina we have churros. Yeah, but in Spain they have some churros. That is what I want to try. Here in Mexico, because the U.S. and Mexico, the same thing. The churros, they ruined them when they add cinnamon. Another lesson. It's not that I don't like it. Cinnamon has to be very far away from churros. Cinnamon and churros do not mix. It's for something else, but not for churros. Churros are just with sugar, with milk, candy inside, but not with cinnamon. The cinnamon ruins it all. When I went to the U.S. here and I saw some churros like this, and I said, "Oh wow, how beautiful are these churros!" And I asked for one. I couldn't believe it. The cinnamon taste that ruined everything. I know that since I didn't eat them with cinnamon when I was little. No, the cinnamon doesn't go. I'm tired of the cinnamon one. It's better. In fact, all the Mexicans that I've seen in videos, they go to Argentina and ask for churros. They're enamored with the churros. They don't say, "Oh, how ugly, it doesn't have cinnamon. Can you give me the cinnamon, please?" No. Because they have a different flavor. Cinnamon does not go in the churro. Like also, you don't add squash to your soup. You do use it there. Only on top. If you make rice with milk and you put cinnamon all over, you're an idiot. It goes in every portion at the top. In every portion. It's kind of like, oh wow, don't be a brute and mix mix. I mean, that you have to be an idiot to mix the cinnamon into it. I mean, there should be a law against that. Okay, moving on. Okay, no questions. So then, it's absolutely happy that you understood everything, or no one understood a thing, and that's fine. In mole, you do use it. I have no opinion with mole, because I learned how to eat mole. It's exquisite. I'll respect you. Maybe if we made it in Argentina, we would make it better. Mole is exquisite. The Mexican food and the food from other countries like Guatemala, they all have their own delicious things. Of course, it's all something that you can make better, but they have their own distinct deliciousness. But the Spanish food, I like the Spanish food a lot, and the Italian food. But of course, the thing is, the Spanish and the Italian food, they're right there, kind of like what the Argentinians like. But now there's so many things. It's very much engraved in our whole bringing up and everything that we've lived in. So then, the day that I go to Spain, I'll try those two things to see how good they make them and everything else they make. All the Argentinians have said that the food from Spain is all great, and they'll go and visit Spain and they say it's exquisite. So then, without any further ado, let us wrap up with a word of prayer. But I'd like to really influence you to celebrate Pesach in a way that's special, because it is our feast, the feast of the Messiah. Like also, the feast of the Messiah was Christmas, remember? And the feast of Hanukkah was the feast of the Messiah. Well, it's got its connection with Pesach, because if Christmas and Hanukkah is the feast of the Messiah because the Messiah is born, Pesach is the feast of the inauguration of the Messianic era. It's not that he dies, it's that he resurrects. And that is what the world needs, the resurrection of the Messiah. And it takes place precisely during these feasts, during Pesach. That is why I'm telling you that it's so important. It is death and resurrection, per se. Resurrection, death, and resurrection. To annul it entirely, sin, but also teaching and instruction. It is to leave Egypt and to go onto the new land, to leave Babylon and to enter into the new millennium. The Feast of Pesach and the Feast of the Messiah. Have that in mind when you celebrate this year, Pesach. Our Father that art in heaven, we give you thanks for this so precious day of Shabbat. We give you thanks because today you have made us understand the feasts of Pesach. That actually it means the feast of the Messiah. That we may celebrate it with the best spirit. It is the feast in which you annulled sin, but it's also a feast in which you resurrected. It is a feast in which the main figure, the most important one, and that everything is based on, is the figure of the Messiah. Now we understand that, and we know who the Messiah is. Now this is why we celebrate this feast as the most important feast of them all, along with that of Christmas, which is when the Messiah is born. All this, I thank you for, and I ask that in your presence, as Elohim, Creator, as the husband of every one of us, as the only God that will anoint the Messiah, that you be with us, and that it be a feast that's very important. All this we thank you for, in your precious name, YHWH Eloheinu. Semper Fi. Let the laurels be eternal that we knew how to achieve, crowned with glory, let us live. Long live the Messiah and the feast of Pesach. I wish that you have an unforgettable and the best of them all feasts of Pesach. If it is this one in which Yahweh wants to do something special, or if it's the following one, that doesn't matter. But may this be a very special one. Hallelujah to every one of you. Celebrate Pesach.